You're recording. Okay, cool. Ready when you are.
Yep, ready to go.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. I know that sounds incredibly lame, but it makes my life a lot easier.
No, that's all good. Whatever works.
Welcome back to We Love the Internet. Thank you very much for downloading this week's episode. My name's Harrison.
And I'm Chris.
And we are two geeky nerds who love learning stuff on the internet. And we have been researching incredibly interesting topics for you this week, whilst self-isolating due to the coronavirus. So hopefully they're going to be even more in-depth researching than normal to hopefully enlighten you in this week. How's it going, Chris?
Yeah, good. Like you say, self-isolating for the good of the world. How about you?
Yes. Well, I'm in a slightly fortunate position that I've been working from home and self-employed for about 15 years. So I feel like I've been training for this for a while. So it's not too much of a culture shock for me.
So you're kind of you've been in training. You're used to this.
Well, yes. And I basically spent my entire teenage life in a bedroom on a computer. So it's in a way a bit of my desired lifestyle.
So sunlight is bad, okay?
Yeah, and there's no need for the sunlight. You go outside, it's all like horrible weather and stuff, and yeah.
At least you've got climate control indoors.
Exactly, yeah. How's self-isolation treating you?
Oh, yeah, all right. I used to work from home once a week, maybe, if that. A little bit of treat sometimes, but now since Monday, so now on the fifth day, it's just work from home. So yes, I've been enjoying like catching up with you and others in the evenings, Skype or whatever else. In fact, actually, we played a game of Pandemic, ironically, didn't we, the other day?
Yes. It seemed quite appropriate, and unfortunately, we died.
We died so hard.
Probably not a good omen, but there we go.
No, not really. Not really, no. I think I do blame you though, because you right out the gate you did get us 2 epidemics?
Yeah, I think I infected about 14 cities and had 2 epidemics on my first term, which was not the strongest start to a game of Pandemic. I think we were probably paying.
Could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better. But I'm not entirely sure it's my fault.
Probably it was.
It probably was. Yeah. To be fair.
No, to be fair, it was an awful shuffling from Becky, I think.
Yeah. Let's blame the shuffling. Let's blame the cards. That seems fairer.
And besides, Becky's not here to defend herself, so
exactly.
I know she'll appreciate us bad mouthing her.
Fine, done and dusted.
But no, I think it went really well. They had Becky set up a couple of cameras, so we could see the board on one camera, and then she set up like a phone with a closer inspection of cards that we drew. And it was really, really well, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was great. I was just thinking, thank goodness this isolation's happening now, not like 5 or 10 years ago when we were working on terrible internet and no one had webcams or anything like that. It would have been horrific.
Can you imagine?
Thank God for technology.
Yes, thank God for technology. At least we have Netflix and Skype and everything else available now.
Yeah, thank goodness. I imagine they're taking a hammering right now.
Oh, yeah.
People's home
In fact, I read
connections.
today that the EU have asked Netflix and YouTube to reduce the quality of their streams because obviously I think people are hammering it so hard that it's causing problems.
Jeez, yeah. Let's not even consider what would happen if there's a limit put on Netflix. That would be terrible.
God, no. Awful. I think they've just reduced the 4K streams down to HD, I think, so I think we're good.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as we're not going to SD, that's just...
No.
We might as well just burn it all to the ground.
Exactly. Start again.
Civilization has failed.
That's right, yeah. We're just going to turn the lights out now. It's not worth it. Carry on.
No, we can't go back to SD quality. That would be terrible.
No.
That would be terrible.
God, no. Ooh, shuddering thinking about it.
Right, well, on that jolly subject...
yes.
What topic have you got for us for a conversation this evening?
I'm going to talk about trains.
Excellent.
Well, specifically, I'm going to talk about London Underground trains.
Cool.
Where do you think... I mean, you'd expect them to be running in London on the Underground. In fact, actually, I mean, at the moment...
At the moment, maybe not.
Yes, maybe not so much right now, but ordinarily you'd expect one every couple of minutes in the Underground. Where you probably wouldn't expect them is on the Isle of Wight.
The Isle of Wight?
Yeah, the Isle of Wight.
How the heck do you get a train to the Isle of Wight?
I'm imagining, I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm imagining cranes and ships that, well, maybe not in cranes, maybe you just roll the trains down to the ship. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll have to
maybe.
look at that. But anyway, the Isle of Wight is obviously an island off the south coast of England, in the English Channel, and it's more or less opposite Southampton, and it's separated by the Solent. It's actually the second most populated island in England, and approximately 141,000 people live in there. So it's quite full of people.
Yeah.
And it's actually very popular. Well, again, until very recently, maybe like February, very popular with tourists. It was it was popularised by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, as they had a holiday residence on the island called Osborne, and they would visit very regularly. And obviously, since Victorian times, Victorian tourists have visited right through to the modern day. And obviously, after coronavirus is finished, maybe they'll continue visiting because it's such a nice place to go.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. Hopefully everything comes back after coronavirus. But the only way to get to the island and get on and off the island is via ferry service. So yeah, how do the island trains get there? I have not researched that, I must admit. But I'd imagine it's probably roll onto a ferry and then roll off again. Or maybe they cut them up partially or something, I'm not really sure. But anyway, so yeah, the train, officially they're called British Rail Class 483 Stock. So it's such a bureaucratic name, isn't it? I love the British Rail.
That was not come up with by a marketing department, was it?
No, there were engineers and bureaucrats that thought of this.
Yeah, that's all we need. That gets the message across.
Exactly, they know exactly what it is when they see the name. It's fine.
Does what it says on the tin.
Exactly. And so, but they're actually essentially London Underground trains or tube trains from 1938. Well, not actually, they weren't built in 1938, they were designed in 1938. So the design is from 1938. Obviously, there are newer trains than that. And the original batch of Class 483 trains ran on what is called the Island Line. So obviously, that's the main line that runs through the Isle of Wight. And they started in March 1967. So what I imagine is happening is obviously they get retired from the London Underground and then they find new life on the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
So from March 1967, and they actually had to, before they could obviously bring these underground trains over, they had to electrify the line. So I'd imagine before that it was obviously steam trains. So quite an upgrade, if you think in those kind of terms. You're getting some underground trains, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, they took them over there. And they were extensively modified. Obviously, the lines were electrified, and then the trains themselves were extensively modified to work on the line there. And then over time, they had a total of 8 carriages. Of the 483 stock, so the London Underground tube stock. Total 8 carriages have been in service, and then they had 2 stored for spare parts. So they run 6 on the actual line, and obviously as they were being maintained, what have you, they'd use sort of pillage the other 2 that they'd got for extra parts and things. And right now, well, as of probably a couple of months ago, I'm not quite sure right now, but as when things were still normal, they actually had 4 trains running, and the other 4 had been scrapped. So they're obviously running down the stock, and since 1967 they've been running these trains. So they're obviously getting very old now.
Yeah.
And I've never actually ridden such old tube trains. I've ridden trains obviously in London many times, and I'd imagine probably the Bakerloo line. I don't know the ages of these trains, but I imagine the Bakerloo line, looking at them, is probably 1960s stock.
Yeah, that feels like the oldest rickety one that I regularly ride on.
Yeah, totally. It's one I do as well. I mean, if you compare to, check me, I'm a total train nerd. When I normally ride on there, it's either Bakerloo Line or Hammersmith and City. And the Hammersmith and City ones are obviously brand new, very nice trains. But yeah, the oldest ones I tend to go on are the Bakerloo Line ones. But so you've got to sort of roll back another sort of 30, 40 years in front of that. So these things are really rickety and old in the Isle of Wight. And so obviously the oldest ones I've experienced are Bakerloo Line. So they're pretty rickety and do, trundle along and can be quite clackety and what have you. But yeah, can you imagine what they're like on the Isle of Wight? God. Apparently there's quite a bit of lurching and clattering sounds that go on.
Which is always reassuring. That's exactly what you want from a nice relaxing train journey.
Completely, yeah. you ride on for, go to the shops or whatever. But apparently, according to the Isle of Wight people, this has got more to do with the state of the tracks on the island, not the trains themselves. I don't believe them personally, but that's what they claim. Was
that by someone who's responsible for the maintaining of the trains, who doesn't like the guy who's responsible for the maintaining of the tracks by any chance?
Most likely, yeah. They've had a war going on for years. And to give you an idea of how long this island line is, I mean, it's not huge by any stretch of the imagination. The island isn't massive either, obviously, so it wouldn't be. The total length of the track is 8.5 miles,
Jeez.
Which is about 13.7 kilometres, so it really isn't huge. So you can imagine the space is a premium on the island, so that's obviously why they're using the older trains. And they don't need obviously fast trains necessarily because they don't have to go very far.
You would barely have time to sit down before you.
Exactly. Oh, trying to get off again. But up until, coronavirus, etc., everything's changing right now. Up until a couple of months ago, they were actually going to be taking these old 483 stock trains out of service because obviously they reached the end of their life.
I think that might have happened a while ago.
Yeah. just a little bit. So the original plan was to take them out of service from summer 2020 onwards. But obviously, right now, who knows? Maybe they'll delay that and it'll be longer. But they've also been upgrading the line again, so maybe it'll be slightly less rickety, slightly less clattery. And what they're going to do is replace them with newer trains. But they're still going to be on London Underground trains, former London Underground trains. They're actually from the District line this time.
Wow.
And they're from the late 70s and 80s, early 80s, sorry. Late 70s, early 80s. So they'll be newer, but I'd imagine not completely.
Yeah.
Not expecting them when you go to London, maybe.
So only 30 or 40 years old instead of 50 or 60 years old.
That's right, exactly. Marked improvement.
I mean, technically that's an upgrade.
Yeah. So what you'll be losing in character, you'll be gaining with Wi-Fi and ride quality. So I'm sure that the people of Isle of Wight are looking forward to that. But like I say, maybe because of coronavirus, maybe they'll get to enjoy their 483 running stock for a little bit longer now.
Yeah, maybe a bit longer, yeah. Is that I've never really kind of thought about the fact that obviously underground trains are trains.
Yeah.
But like the kind of train that, like, say for example, I take from like Nottingham to London, and the kind of train I then take across the underground seem very different to me. But is there a market for taking underground trains and running them above ground?
I think it's pretty uncommon. I couldn't really find many other. I mean, maybe people could tell us if they are listening, and I'm completely wrong on this point. But I couldn't really find many other places taking old underground stock, because you're right, they are very different trains and their own. Well, a lot of lines now around the world are either, I guess, diesel or electric, so they could well run on those lines. But I think a lot of new implementations of electric lines, obviously the cabling goes overhead, doesn't it, rather than running power through the lines themselves, which is what these would require. So they're not designed for that, obviously.
And just on a scale thing, like they're so much smaller.
Yes.
I guess if you've only got 13 kilometres of track, people aren't sitting on them for very long, so it doesn't matter so much.
That's right.
It's more like running a metro than running an actual rail thing. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, with a bit of a change, a bit of diversion here, but obviously with the Elizabeth line Crossrail, I live near Reading, so we already have, well, again, coronavirus. We up until that point we do actually have the Elizabeth line trains on the line, because obviously it's newly electrified, and they are essentially, I would imagine, what you class them as essentially new tube trains, because they're going to run obviously in Crossrail, so they are like tube trains, but they go out on the overground as well. So and it's really strange, because obviously a normal train, like you say, your seats are facing forwards and backwards, and you've got tables and stuff, and these Elizabeth line trains, they're more like underground trains. They're just, everything's sort of most seats are side running parallel on the carriages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everything is wide open, like the Hammersmith City line trains. So it's really strange going on a full trip into London, and you're sort of facing opposite, not facing the direction of travel, you're facing side onto it. It's a very odd experience. Yeah.
It's like whenever I have to go on the overground, which always confuses me, because it feels like it's not quite an underground train and not quite a real train.
Yes.
It's like elements of both. It's very, very discombobulating.
Absolutely. But yes, so if you do visit the Isle of Wight, then you'll be able to see, certainly for potentially in the near future, the old 483 stock, and then after that it will be slightly newer, but not hugely newer, ex-district line stock. And I'm sure they'll paint them up and put Wi-Fi on, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they still painted in the underground colours, or have they at least given them a paint job?
I think they're giving a paint job. Yeah, you don't get to see the old colours, unfortunately. But yeah, excellent.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What you got for us?
Right. So, being stuck at home, thinking about coronavirus and all the rest of it, I came across a Today I Learnt thread from Reddit, which got me on a rabbit hole of learning about online shopping. So, did you know that Pizza Hut was the first restaurant to test online ordering for delivery? They created a website called PizzaNet. Guess what year?
PizzaNet. Did they call it pizza.net? Please say they did. What year? I don't know. So I started shopping online, because I'm so old, in probably 1999, 2000, 2001, something like that.
Uh-huh.
Ordering pizza, I would say, Amazon started quite in the mid-90s, didn't it? I don't know. Let's say 2002.
1994.
Wow!
It was obviously in California, in Santa Cruz, and apparently the site can still be visited today.
Wow! Please tell me it's pizza.net. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it should be now, shouldn't it? Yeah, I don't know if .net existed in those days, but yeah.
No, actually, probably didn't, did it back then? No, that would be incredible though. PizzaNet, like Skynet.
Yes, well, exactly.
Pizza,
yeah,
less death.
So that got me thinking about online shopping and so forth. And obviously, right now, online shopping sites are taking a little bit of a hammering.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd look at some dates and some figures about what was going on with online shopping. So at the beginning of the year, it was estimated that in 2020, total online sales would hit $4 trillion worldwide. Now, I think that figure's probably going to go up because I think a lot of people are going to be taking a lot of their, like in-person shopping and going online. So that figure's probably going to be even higher.
I reckon.
But yeah, $4 trillion.
That's incredible.
A recent survey in America has said that 69% of people have shopped online, with 25% of Americans doing so at least once a month. The majority bought clothing, which I thought was interesting because I've always kind of thought that clothing was one of the things that quite a lot of people are hesitant to buy online. But
yeah, because you can't try it on. I suppose you can't try it on in the shop because you're not in the shop. But
yeah,
if it's free delivery, free returns, then you can have as much sense as you want. Try it on, don't like it, send it back. I guess that's the way it works.
Yeah. And 47% of people bought their first items on Amazon, which is probably to be expected in America.
Yeah, completely.
So the average revenue per person in America for online shopping is $1,804 per year. Second place is the UK at $1,629, and then Sweden, France, Germany, Japan, Spain, and China, where the spend is only $625 per year.
Oh, we do love online shopping in this country.
Apparently so, yes. So if you break it down across men and women, it's basically the same kind of percentage as to who shops online. Things like travel, holiday accommodation, household goods, tickets for events, that kind of thing is pretty universal across the two figures. And then, as you would probably expect, women tend to shop more for things like clothing and sporting goods, and men tend to shop more for computer and technology. So, nice bit of stereotypical sexism right there.
Total nerds on the male side.
Yes, exactly, yes. In 2019, digital purchases accounted for 14% of all retail transactions, with an estimated 1.92 billion digital buyers, which I thought would probably be a higher number than that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's surprising, isn't it? I thought it would be higher as well. Okay.
And without... I don't think any conversation about online shopping can take place without talking about the wonder that is teletext. Now, I know, as you may have mentioned, you and I are both men of relatively advanced years, so I'm sure you remember teletext.
I really do. I never had teletext, but I do remember it.
And I don't really know how to describe teletext to people, but I'm gonna give it a try. But first of all, when do you think the first teletext system was tested to the public?
Ooh, total guess. I would say probably. I want to say the 60s, which is probably more like the 80s. Let's go in the middle. 1973.
That is incredible. That's exactly the right year.
Sharp, is it?
No, that's great. It was the BBC testing their service, which was actually called CFAX, but was built on a teletext system. And yeah, it was 1973.
I honestly didn't know that. I did not know that. That was a complete, total guess.
That was incredible. When you said, 60s or 80s, I'll go in the middle, I thought, no, he's not going to. Surely he's not.
He's not going to
73, nailed it on the head. Okay, here's one that might
nobody's going to believe that. I don't know that, but I didn't. It was just a total fluke.
Here's one that might stump you. When did the BBC shut down that service?
It's got to be relatively recently. I would say 2010s, something like that, because it did get... let's say 2014.
2012. You just missed it.
So close.
And the only reason they shut down the service was because we switched to a digital broadcast instead of an analog one. So the technology just didn't work. So for our younger viewers, teletext was a system that was accessible through TV sets using text and very limited graphics. The way they did it technically was that they would hide data in the broadcast signal, which could then be converted to the pages of text.
Huh.
When it first started, it was things like news headlines, weather, and TV listings. It was essentially kind of like a mini internet, I suppose, as we think about it now. Except that instead of the user requesting the pages were broadcast. So if you wanted to read news headlines, they would be sent as pages, changing every few seconds, and you couldn't request to go to the next one. You had to wait for it to change. So I spent hours of my life waiting for the teletext pages to change, or you had an option to hold it and freeze it so you could read it before it went away.
I remember that.
The joys of CFAX and teletext.
You had to type in the numbers as well, the page you wanted, didn't you?
Yes, you did. So the content was all sent across pages, like you say, and I'm pretty sure I can remember some of the page numbers I used to go to. So
really?
on the TV remote, you type in the number, and that would take you to the particular page you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the one I used to go to the most was the TV listings for Now and Next. And I'm pretty sure that was 515 or 505. It was something like that. I can remember doing it. And like 110 was like the news headlines and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy.
So obviously this was in the days of broadcasting TV, so you couldn't just go Netflix, I'll watch this now.
No, nothing on demand.
Watching.
This is when you had to be sat at your TV at a certain time to watch a program. No
Horrifying,
recording.
isn't it?
Terrible. Like kids today, they just don't know they're born, I tell you. But one benefit for teletext over something like the internet was that because the stuff was being broadcast rather than requested, it would never slow down if lots of people were using it. So actually, during 9/11, teletext proved to be one of the best sources for news, as millions of people were obviously like trying to frantically get information and news, and because the service wasn't affected by those extra users, it was fine, unlike many web pages which at the time were pretty weak and fell over pretty easily.
I remember that actually, because I was at work, because I'm so old. I was at work and in the office, and I remember my housemate at the time phoned me, and because that's what you used to do. Didn't have like Messenger or anything like that at that point. So phoned me and said, "Oh, check out the web and see what's going on in New York." So I did, obviously, and then pretty quickly, like you say, the BBC website fell over completely, and they had to go upstairs and watch the TV in the sort of common area and watch the horrifying experience unfold in front of us.
I was doing exactly the same. I was at work, and we were all kind of like sat around the TV in the porter cabin where we'd have our lunch, and we were obviously, like very many people, we tuned in just as the second tower went down, because the first one went down, everyone heard about it, so then ran to watch TV, and crazy times.
Absolutely.
But the reason I'm talking about it now, when we're talking about online sales, is that it wasn't just news and information. Eventually people started selling things on teletext. And
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the most common were holidays. So people like Thompson's and like the old school travel agents would advertise holidays through teletext.
So go on, you'd have to like phone up, would you?
Well, you would have to call up to actually book it. But you say on people like ITV's teletext, for example, the commercial stations rather than our public broadcasters.
Sure.
There would be pages and pages of like, click on this number for these destinations. If you want to go to Europe, go to this number. If you want to go to America, go to this number. Then it would give you like a couple of pages of descriptions and then a phone number, and you call up and book it.
My God, it was like a lo-fi internet, wasn't it?
Exactly. So, and I think you had like classified listings on there at one point and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, people use it to buy things, not just to get information.
Wow, that's kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
To imagine that now, obviously, so much further into the future and what we have now.
Well, yeah, and you have to remember, like, if people have no idea what we're talking about, Google teletext on like a Google image search. It looks horrific. And bearing in mind that we were watching it on like 14-inch terrible TVs with awful reception and awful quality. Yeah, it was terrible at the time, but I used to love it. I used to feel really, really cool flipping through teletext.
So futuristic, man.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was information.
On demand. Well, kind of. Yeah, no, it was incredible at the time, absolutely.
So, back to Amazon. Their inventory currently stretches across 12 million items just in Amazon warehouses.
12 million?
If you extend to the Amazon marketplace, where third-party people can come along and sell stuff, it's about 350 million items.
Wow.
Which is utterly crazy.
Because Bezos did want to become the everything store, didn't he? That was the whole point of setting up Amazon.
That's where the name comes from. It was A to Z. A to Z.
Yeah, that's right, because that's the little smile underneath the logo. Yeah.
It's an arrow connecting A to Z.
Yeah.
So it's estimated that 1 in 3 Americans have a Prime membership, which is the thing where you get free. Well, in the UK it's next day. I think in America it's two-day shipping, as well as access to like their online streaming and stuff like that. Apparently, Prime members spend more than non-Prime members, rather unsurprisingly. Also, unsurprisingly, millennials are their main audience. And twice as many millennials use Amazon as baby boomers.
Suppose they hook them up with reduced cost Prime through student fees, being a student, don't they? So you never really let go of it.
They hook you when you're a student and then they hold on. And talking of ways that they keep you being a Prime member, their busiest shopping day isn't Cyber Monday, it isn't Black Friday, it's Prime Day.
Prime Day,
which you've probably never heard of, have you?
This has passed me by.
Okay, so Prime Day was first held in 2015.
All right.
To mark the website's 20th anniversary, and just like Cyber Monday or Black Friday, they do time-sensitive deals where they do quote big reductions on great items, which sometimes are crap reductions on crap items, just trying to clear the warehouse. But the key thing is that it's only open to Prime members. So in order to get the sales, you have to be a Prime member.
Wow.
Now, the average sales per second are frankly staggering. So each second, they record nearly $5,000 of transactions.
Every second?
Every second. So that goes to $283,000 a minute, $17 million an hour. Now, obviously, with that kind of turnover, keeping their website up is of prime importance to them. Pardon the pun. And the most recent big outage they had in 2013, they were down for 40 minutes, and it's estimated that they lost $5 million in sales.
Wow. Because people don't hang around, do they, online? If you can't get something in a few seconds, I'm on to the next place.
It's done. It's done. You're dead to them.
Wow.
So
exactly. Dead to me, I'm done. I can't come back. I can't even look at you anymore.
So that's Amazon. Are you familiar with Alibaba?
I've heard of the name. That's about it.
So the very simple description is that Alibaba is Amazon in China.
Oh, okay.
So it was actually started in 1999 by a guy called Jack Ma, or May, I'm not sure, M.A. is his surname. And he deserves an entire episode of his own because he's a bit of a character. It was him and a bunch of mates, and very quickly they received $25 million of backing because this was at the time when Amazon was really starting to get into its stride, and people recognised the benefit of having such a thing in China, which has obviously got a significantly larger population.
Yeah.
So I think it was from like Goldman Sachs or something. They put like 25 million in early days. They've grown to become the largest retailer or e-commerce company in the world. They're the biggest in both categories. They have over the years developed an artificial intelligence company, a venture capital company, and investment corporations, all of which are amongst the biggest in the world in their field. Now, this is the thing that got me. Since 2015, their online sales alone have been greater than all US retailers, physical and online, combined together.
Really?
Everything. Just from their online sales. It's ridiculous. As of 2018, they are the 9th highest brand value globally of any company.
Good Lord.
So its founder...
That's amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it? Just the number. This always happens with China.
Yeah.
As soon as you start comparing numbers in China to anywhere else in the world, it just goes mind-bogglingly large. So its founder, Jack Ma, is, like I say, he's a bit of a character. I'm going to link his Wikipedia article below and have a look at it because he's quite an interesting chap. He's China's wealthiest citizen, worth around $42 billion. He had an incredible debate in 2019 with Elon Musk at the World AI Conference. And they had a chat about whether AI is great or a threat. So I'll link below to the debate and a BBC article on the subject. Where do you stand on the whole kind of AI? Is it great? Is it terrible?
I'm probably not qualified to answer that, but I would say as a complete layperson, it's probably very beneficial long term.
Well, in that case, you agree with Alibaba's Jack Ma.
I like being on the right side.
Yeah, well, it's that or agreeing with Elon Musk. I'm not sure which is better.
Yeah.
So the Chinese entrepreneur said that he was quite optimistic about AI and thought it was nothing for street smart people like them to be scared of. Musk's reply was, "I don't know, man. That's like famous last words."
Well, it's true. Before coronavirus, I wouldn't agree with him, but maybe now, maybe he's right. Who knows?
So yeah, I'll link to the full. It's like a 45-minute debate or something. It's quite interesting, but he is quite a dude. So while we're in China, are you familiar with Singles Day?
No.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's something to do with single people?
Yes. So Singles Day is effectively the Chinese equivalent of Black Friday, even though that's a very unfair comparison. But in terms of like a sales day, that's basically what it is.
Okay.
So remember how I said Amazon's busiest day is Prime Day?
Yeah.
So in 2019, Amazon's Prime Day sales were the biggest ever, and they totaled $7.16 billion on the one day. Which,
that's a few dollars.
That's a staggering amount of money, right?
Yeah, it's just a couple of dollars, yeah.
On the same on Singles Day in China in 2019, Alibaba on their own, so this is like a countrywide thing, but just Alibaba recorded sales of $38.4 billion.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Really?
Just on the one day. So Singles Day is November the 11th or 1111. So the number 1 in China is known as Bear Stick, which is also a nickname for a single man. Hence why they chose to invent this holiday for the 11th of the 11th.
So Alibaba invented this holiday like Amazon did with Prime Day.
No one is entirely sure who invented it, but Alibaba basically used it as a fantastic opportunity to make an incredible amount of money.
Yes,
so
they did.
It's not entirely sure exactly how it started. I'll link again to the Wikipedia article as always. It was started definitely in Nanjing University. With the first one happening in 1993, and the exact origin story is a little bit confused. The belief is basically that it was 4 guys who were sick of being kind of laughed at for being single. So the concept's pretty simple. The idea is for people who are single to treat themselves to a gift or to a fun time, because basically, they've got no one to buy gifts for or no one to receive gifts from, but also as a day to celebrate the fact that they're single. Kind of like an anti-Valentine's Day sort of message, but instead of it being anti-couples, it's just, hey, we're single and being single is fantastic and great. So that went on for a little while, and then in kind of around 2008, 2009, people like Alibaba really got involved with the idea of, hey, if you're celebrating being single, treat yourself, buy yourself something. And it went ballistic. So from 2009, where it was making a tiny amount of money, to 2019, where it's making $38 billion for Alibaba. You can see there's a little bit of a spike there.
Yeah, just a bit.
So obviously
numbers.
It's become the biggest single shopping day in the world, and has actually started to spread now, kind of as it was taken over as an online thing. It's also kind of karaoke bars, restaurants, shopping malls, they all do things.
Sure.
But the main purchasing all happens online. So yeah, $38.4 billion just on the one website.
Wow. Versus Amazon 7.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very impressive, to be honest with you. But clearly nothing like Jack Ma can do.
Exactly. As soon as you start comparing figures to something that's happening somewhere in the world,
in China,
compared to China, it's just mind-boggling. So there we go. That's the current state of online shopping and a little bit of history of it.
Wow. So yes, the Chinese are going to beat us all, by the sounds of things.
Well, yeah, and I can only imagine.
Already are.
Well, yeah, and with their shutdowns at the beginning of the year, I can only imagine how much they're doing online.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, completely. And I always thought, Amazon is huge at the end of the day, but yeah, those figures really put it into some sort of comparison.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, $38 billion in one day.
Jeez.
That's not bad going, is it?
They obviously turned into like you say. It's not saying that Valentine's Day is bad in any way. It's kind of the opposite. And then people have run with it. They've clearly decided that's it. They want it.
Yes, yeah, and they've definitely run with it. I think that's an apt description.
Wowzers. Very interesting.
So there we go.
Yeah, cool.
Right,
I feel a little bit more knowledgeable about the world.
We definitely are. That's what we aim to do here. We spread the knowledge.
Definitely.
So thank you very much for listening. We will find links in the description in your podcast app of choice for all the various things that we've talked about, Wikipedia articles, news articles, videos, that kind of thing. If you have any knowledge on the things that we've talked about, please get in touch. You can find us in all the usual places, social media, email, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, our teletext page isn't operational anymore. So
yeah, it went down a few years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame. It wasn't really a good traffic use, if I'm honest. We didn't get much to come through there.
The support ran down, the support contract ran out. Don't like to talk about it.
That's just the way it goes sometimes with technology. Yeah. If you back the wrong horse, it's the same as our Betamax series. That didn't go well either, did it?
Yeah, no, that really bombed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No viewers on that.
So thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.